everybody, and welcome to LRM Ranks It, the show where we take our favorite movies, TV shows, video games, whatever. We pick an order, we tell you what that is. If you like it, cool. If not, whatever. That's what we do here. We have fun. And we're going to be ranking Pixar today, and I'm joined by the editor-in-chief, Joseph Jammer Medina. Say what's up.
What's up? So, as you can see here on my notebook, with my rankings, I have a Pixar sticker that I got when I visited Pixar while covering for Coco, and love the studio. Really excited to talk about the best movies in there, because if it's not on this list, your favorite movie sucks.
You guys heard it. You know where to find him at, right? On Twitter and all that. If not, you'll see the information later. And Pixar is what we're covering. I like Pixar. You know, it was a company. I think it's named after the computer that did the animation to begin with. George Lucas was involved early on. It got sold to Disney, and they released this wonderful movie called Toy Story, which may or may not be on one of our lists. And the rest is history. I love Pixar. I'm guessing you're an overall fan of them, right?
Absolutely. Love Pixar. Great quality animation. Helped usher in the new era of storytelling that Disney has later adopted along with other studios. So I can't speak highly enough about them, even if maybe they're hit more hit or miss these days than they used to be.
They've had some duds, but overall, I think they've been a net gain to the movie industry, and definitely to the animation industry. I mean, they, like you said, they really forced people to change from traditional hand-drawn or cel-shaded into the era of computer-generated animation, and even enhancing some of the traditional 2D hand-drawn with some computer stuff thrown in there. So definitely thankful for Pixar to have existed. Today we're going to be discussing our top 5, a very subjective way to do it, but these are our personal top 5. And as always, I like to let my guests go first. So Joseph, go ahead and start us off with your number 5.
My number 5 is The Incredibles, written and directed by Brad Bird. This was the I'm hearing the hurt because it's not number 1 or near to the top. I think the movie is great. It came at a time when superhero movies weren't there weren't 5 or 8 of them a year like there are nowadays. But it also, as many people feel, it was almost like a Fantastic Four-like movie where it was about a family of superheroes. And it was handled with such maturity. It had great characterization. It was funny, but it wasn't afraid to tackle more mature themes. It wasn't afraid to shy away from death. And it really showed that they were open to taking on new and innovative ideas from outside directors, who was Brad Bird at the time. And it's just all around great. The reason why it's not higher, personally, I feel like the animation was a little weaker. It was very widespread in how many sets it had, and as a result, I think the actual quality of the animation, or maybe it's sort of the actual designs, kind of had like a little dip. Like design-wise, it was great, but as far as whether or not the computer was able to render it as effectively, I'm not sure it was. But overall, still a great film.
It is. It is definitely on my list and a little higher, so we'll talk about it a little bit more once we get there. Let's get into my number 5, and my number 5 is actually the movie that started it all off, Toy Story. I was a big fan of action figures, and I did crossovers before crossover was a big thing. I had my Ninja Turtles fighting my Ghostbusters, and my Ghostbusters and G.I. Joes teaming up to go against Darth Vader and stuff. So the idea of toys coming to life was a cool idea. I was also a fan of the book Indian in the Cupboard when I was a little kid.
Frank Oz
so I was
directed that.
Yes, the movie came out, I don't remember how long after I read the book, but yeah, I liked the movie too. I always thought it'd be really cool to get like a toy lightsaber and put it in the cupboard, so that way I could have a real lightsaber. That was like the first thought that came to my mind when I was reading that book. But Toy Story is this great little movie about several themes go through it. You know, you've got the new kid on the block with Buzz Lightyear. You got people learning to cope with their reality, with Buzz realizing that he's a toy, and Woody and some of the others having to deal with, no longer being the favorite toy of Andy. The movie, of course, spawned, coming up on 3 additional sequels. I'm not sure why we needed Toy Story 4, but it just shows you how endearing the story and the characters are. Wonderfully acted by Tim Allen and Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors. I could watch him sitting in a chair for 2 hours. I'd probably pay money to see that. So yeah, it's a wonderful movie. It kicked it all off. I remember watching it as a kid, and I haven't shown it to my son yet. It's not really up his alley yet. He's 5 years old. It might be time to show him Toy Story. So yeah, that's my number 5.
This isn't on my list, but I think this may be the movie that originally got me interested in the idea of making movies. I like it's that influential on me.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's really fast, quickly paced. It has like a 128-page script, and it's only like 90 some odd minutes long. So the dialogue is fast. Everything is moving fast, and I think it was really unique. And that it wasn't really a musical for that era of filmmaking.
Definitely.
So great choice. Maybe I should have put it on my list because how influential it was. I mean, I'm kidding. But there are more influential ones for me, but I mean, I'm influential. There are better movies, I think. But as far as what was influential for me, I think it's up there.
I'm definitely excited for the video game Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out this year, now that we're in January of 2019, because there is a Toy Story world. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and continue on and get to your number 4.
My number 4 is Coco. Came out, God, not even last year at this point. A little over a year ago, 2017, and it was the first Latino-focused animated movie from them. Obviously, a lot of people talked about, Book of Life was the first one. Pet peeve of mine: people saying that you can't have 2 Day of the Dead movies. How many fucking Christmas movies do we have? Like, that bugged the shit out of me. But anyways, Coco is a very heartfelt story. I love their representation of Mexico as, just the little village he's in. It's very, it has a lot of texture and character to it. In addition to everything inside the actual world of the dead. It is very, very emotional. I cry. I weep openly every single time I watch that movie. That movie is fucking, oh my God. And in the last 30 seconds is also they sneak in another cry as they show the whole family together. It's a beautiful movie. It's visually beautiful. It always fills me with so much joy and just emotions throughout. So, and by the end, these characters have gone through hell, kind of literally through hell, and have earned the endings that they get. So it's a very rewarding movie to watch every single time, and it resonates a little more because of its Latino focused nature.
Definitely. Visually, a very, very, one of the most stunning. I really love the color palette. Dia de los Muertos, I can never pronounce it correctly, but Day of the Dead is a very colorful holiday in and of itself. So it allowed the animators to have a wide palette, and it's absolutely a beautiful movie. I've seen it once. I want to watch it again. But yeah, good choice. Good choice. My number 4 is also a heartfelt one that a lot of people have emotions about, and it deals with emotions, and that is Inside Out. Inside Out is a cool movie that takes the idea that your emotions are these beings inside your brain, and it's hilarious. I mean, how could you not? When you think of all the actors that could play anger, they got Lewis Black, and that's perfect. I don't think there's anybody else that could have been anger other than Lewis Black. And the story dealing with moving a kid, the main character, she has just moved. I think not just different cities but different states. She's moved to San Francisco, and I grew up in a military family, and so moving around is something that I dealt with a lot, and definitely had those emotions of missing my friends, so being sad, joy at new experiences, a lot of anger because of different things that were going on. Maybe I got a smaller room than where I came from. So the movie definitely had some things that resonated with me. I didn't cry though. One of my favorite things is when Joy meets the imaginary friend. I think that's just one of the coolest little things. I actually had an imaginary friend when I was a kid. Yes, I knew he was imaginary. It was just like an invisible action figure, basically. My sister had an imaginary friend, and that's kind of how I approached that aspect. So again, this movie had a lot of things that I could relate to. A lot of memories, both good and bad, were brought up by this movie, and I absolutely loved it.
Well, not to jump ahead, but that's my number 3, Inside Out.
Go ahead.
My wife is a psychologist, so anything, like, she loved the the representation of the different emotions and its message that sadness is a good thing and is essentially a survival mechanism to get help from people around you and stuff, among many other things. And teaching people to be okay with the various range of emotions and knowing it's just a part of being human. It's a very mature message for a kids movie, and also very approachable for kids of all ages. I don't think this is a movie that you really have to be a certain age in order to see or enjoy, because there's lots of fun colors. So you can be like 1 year old and enjoy the colors, or you can be 30 years old and enjoy the really mature messages. Yeah, it's just very heartfelt, like all these movies are. I'm going to say that word a lot. But yeah, this one also made me cry. Bing Bong made me cry. And also just the way that we learned the overall message about how sadness isn't a horrible thing. It also made me cry. I'm a very emotional person. So yeah, great film. It's my number 3.
It is a great movie. Absolutely love it. And we'll go ahead and continue on to my number 3, which is Finding Nemo. I'm a huge fan of the ocean. Not grew up in California, but spent a lot of time out in California, spent a lot of time on the beach. I live on the East Coast now, 20 minutes from the beach here in the Mid-Atlantic. And so anything dealing with water, I love. Always been a big fan of aquariums. And Finding Nemo is a great, heartfelt, fun movie. Great casting again. The characters are just hilarious when they need to be. Absolutely love everything about it. I mean, visually, it's one of the most beautiful movies there is. Again, I'm biased because it deals with the ocean and stuff like that. But the story itself is really cool. I like the dentist office and the stuff dealing with the niece. It's hilarious, or granddaughter. I can't remember if it was a niece or a granddaughter. Love the surfer dude, turtle, and like everything dealing with the turtles. Of course, is
Crush.
One of my favorite. Yeah, Crush is one of my favorite, and Squirt is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Absolutely, it's a hilarious movie. It's great. My son likes it. I wasn't as happy with the sequel. Not that it was bad. It didn't live up to what the first one had done for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it didn't feel necessary. And that third act was rough for me.
Yeah.
The whole driving off the
moments.
Bridge with the big rig was just weird. Everything else actually thought up to it was pretty solid, though.
Yeah, and everybody got like all obsessed over the otters, but they weren't as adorable as people made them out to be. I didn't get to see it in theaters. I saw it once it hit home video, and I was kind of disappointed in the lack of otters, because everybody made it seem like it was the best part of the movie.
Right.
I like the octopus though. The octopus was hilarious. So.
Yeah, he was. He was
definitely
great movie. I didn't see the first movie in theater. Finding Nemo, didn't appreciate it. It was when I was in high school, so I didn't appreciate it. I just didn't get around to seeing it. I saw it in Spanish class one day when they decided not to teach for one reason or another, and that's when I saw it. And I was like, oh, this movie's actually good, and I was actually surprised. But I don't necessarily have super fond memories of it, but I can understand why a lot of people do. That was their biggest movie for the longest time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, cool. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us? Well, actually, we're heading into number 2, so let's take a quick moment to tell everybody about all the great things they can find on LRM Online. Of course, you guys know about LRM Ranks It. You're watching it. It comes out every Tuesday, and we have the LRM Ranks It podcast, where we go much more in depth on the movies and the rankings than we do here on the videos, and that comes out on Wednesdays. And of course, we got a sister series, I'd Buy That for $1, that comes out on Thursdays from Stefan White. Of course, the flagship from Joseph Jammer Medina himself, Los Fanboys podcast every Friday. And you have something else you do on Mondays?
Yeah, Mondays I go over the weekly box office, or the weekend box office. So from the more in-depth LRM Ranks It to the audio of I Buy That for $1, and then Los Fanboys podcast can all be found on any podcast app under Los Fanboys.
Very good, very good. All right, well, let's go ahead and get to our top 2. Joseph?
My number 2, Ratatouille.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be good. I avoided it for many years because it was about a damn rat cooking food. Did not care about that. I was like, that sounds like a stupid movie. Avoided it, saw it on DVD, and I was like, this movie is really good. There's nothing necessarily like, I can't point to one thing and think this is the reason I like it, but it's sort of a more mature take. It's relatively low key. There aren't world-ending stakes at all.
Right.
It's all about a man and his rat, and it's just but it's like it's like almost 2 parallel stories, but they're all like very personal, intimate. One is about his desire to achieve goals and be creative, and one's about his relationship with a woman and his father, his late father, as he finds out. And it's very intimate. It handles relationships very maturely. Did not expect it, and it's not afraid to, kind of like The Incredibles. It's not afraid to dwell on the mundane for a little bit and to give us a little bit more grounded feeling than you're used to getting in an animated movie. Even in a movie that's about a rat controlling a guy in the kitchen. It manages to keep itself grounded. And I was just really impressed with Pixar's restraint in this movie, where they could have gone ridiculous and wacky and off the wall and dumb.
Yeah. I've only seen it once, and I don't remember if I saw 100% of it. I saw it, the majority of it, in a waiting room, and while I was waiting on in my pre-op appointment or something way back in 2007, something like that. So yeah, I have not watched it since. A lot like you, it didn't really appeal to me, but maybe approaching it as an adult from a more mature point of view, maybe it might be time to revisit that movie. So definitely
give it a shot.
Interesting. The fact that you put it in your top 5, that means something. So definitely, man, maybe I'll check it out again. My number 2 is wacky, off the wall, and fantastical. It is Monsters, Inc. I'm a big fan of monsters. I'm a big horror fan in general. The idea of the monster in the closet or the monster under the bed is something that resonates with me. I'm a huge fan of this old movie with Fred Savage and I keep forgetting his Howie Mandel. There it is. Got it. Howie Mandel and Fred Savage did this movie called Little Monsters. Monsters, they scare kids, they cause mischief, and they blame it on the siblings or the kids themselves, and they come from under the bed. So Monsters Inc., they come out of the closet, but still kind of this really cool idea. Monsters are in the business of scaring kids. And in this, of course, in Monsters Inc., they actually get energy from it, which is hilarious. It's got a cool twist with who the real bad guy is. I love the interactions with the human child. She's not afraid of the monsters. And, of course, it's got John Goodman playing Sully, and I'm a huge John Goodman fan. And, yeah, absolutely. I love Monsters Inc.
It's not on my top 5 list, but it is a really good movie. As you mentioned, it had a really interesting twist villain. It was one of the first twist villains I think I remember seeing in an animated movie at the time. One of the first. And I thought that was really effective. And, it was probably one of, at the time, maybe even now, one of the most efficient movies, because it managed to set up so much in terms of world building really quickly. Over the course of its hour, 40-minute runtime, it managed to establish a whole new world, establish how it works, the entire system, their ecosystem, their economic system, just everything about it and why it is the way it is. And then, turn it on its head and do it really effectively. I can't think of another one that did. I think Coco might be the closest to it, but even that isn't doesn't have quite as much to it in terms of just its overall world to me. Though it is close. But yeah, really great movie. I loved it at the time. I haven't revisited it as much, though it is one of the ones I own. So yeah.
Okay. Again, the sequel was all right. Excuse me, not as good as the original. You find that a lot with some sequels, to where the first one was so perfect that the second one had no chance of living up to it. So it's kind of a shame, but I like the idea of it being a prequel rather than a sequel, I should say. But it was all right. Monsters U was all right. So let's go ahead and get to the big ones, the number ones. Joseph,
you know what sequel was not disappointing? Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 was probably, in my head, one of the best sequels, one of the best 3s in any movie franchise ever. Better than Return of the Jedi, better than Star Wars Episode 3, better than Back to the Future Part 3, better than The Godfather Part 3, which no one really likes anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing. It was a culmination of the entire theme of the franchise. You saw it coming in the second one when you had that 2-minute long song with Jesse, When Somebody Loved Me, and you're like, wow, that's really sad. And then literally the whole third movie is that entire idea of toys being forgotten or left behind, or essentially getting thrown into the attic and potentially going to be forgotten over time.
Yep.
So once again, very mature themes, still really funny. I weep like a little bitch. I thought these guys were gonna cry. I thought they were gonna die in the incinerator on several times. I was like, holy shit, they're gonna do it. At one point, I actually thought that they were gonna fucking burn these guys, and that was gonna be it. But obviously, it didn't happen, and it was just so it was so risky, very risky, and meaningful, and just the perfect capper to an amazing trilogy of films.
Yeah, and it kind of really makes it almost pointless to have the fourth one that they've got coming out.
I'll reserve judgment for when that movie comes out.
Wait to see what happens, but you're like, just hopefully it doesn't undo what was done for the third movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
hopefully it doesn't
thematically,
undo
this is sound. This is sound. We don't need more. That being said, one could say that, Avengers Infinity War undid all of Thor Ragnarok, and we still love that movie.
Definitely. We'll see what happens with Endgame. We'll see what happens with Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
So, well, that's a cool number one. It's the only sequel on our top 5, which is interesting. So, cool.
Yeah.
My number one is your number 5. It's The Incredibles. Absolutely, up until a little movie called Wreck-It Ralph, The Incredibles was my favorite animated movie of all time. I love The Incredibles. I love the pulp 50s feel to the world. I love the story. Like I said, very mature, not afraid to talk about death. I mean, heck, Syndrome is killing superheroes to perfect his robot, under the guise of them coming out to help get rid of something bad. He's killing them off. And then the intro to the movie deals with stopping a suicide. I was really kind of shocked when I saw this movie the first time. It's like, wow, that guy just tried to kill himself and he's suing a superhero for stopping him from killing himself. Absolutely ridiculous when you think of Pixar as primarily a kid's studio. But I absolutely love it. I didn't feel like the animation really suffered at all. Maybe that's because I kind of like the general tone of it. Maybe I'm not noticing some of the issues that you've spotted with it. But it is such a great movie. It's a lot of fun. Well, there you have it, folks. That's our top 5 Pixar films. Tell you what, if you weren't happy with our list, let us know in the comments below, whether on the LRM online page or here on the YouTube channel. Let us know what is on your list. What are your top 5 Pixar movies? Let us know how we're doing here on LRM Ranks It. What you would like to see us rank. It doesn't have to be just a studio. It could be something that things have in common. Like before we did the top 5 superhero costumes on screen with me and Stefan. So let us know. Joseph, where can they find you at online?
Of course, you can find all my writing at lrmonline.com, at least the film writing. And you can find me on Twitter at JamTheWriter.
And you guys know you can find me right here Tuesdays and Wednesdays with LRM Ranks It. I also do this cool little Star Wars thing every Thursday called The Cantina. And I'm at that Kyle Malone on Twitter. Appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, the share button, and hit the little bell so that way you can be alerted whenever we post new stuff. And of course, subscribe. Subscribe twice. Do it twice. Definitely.
Do it twice. Yeah. Actually, don't do it twice because that'll unsubscribe them probably. So don't do that.
Create a new account and do it with that account too. That's what you should do. Definitely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.
Hey, everybody. Did you like what you just watched? Do you want to see more? Check out the other great videos available here on the LRM Online YouTube channel. Also, go check out our website, lrmonline.com, to see all the great stories that we publish every day.